Good evening. I'd like to call to order our December 11th, 2023 US 489 board meeting. And I do want to mention, it is kind of a bittersweet meeting. This is the final meeting for three great board members we've had for the last 4 years. And I'm going to jump the gun real quick here and just tell you, thank you. Thank you, Tammy Wellbrock. Thank you, Lori Hurdle. Thank you, Craig Pallister, for all the work you've done the last 4 years. You have faced so many challenges. COVID was not something any of us could have expected. You've been here through tough teacher negotiations, and you've made them better. You have helped lead our board. You have been on committees. You were here as we approved this bond that's going to change our schools. And I can't thank you enough for the leadership and all that you've done these last 4 years.
Thank you.
Do we have an opportunity to share?
Yes, but
Or do we have to wait?
let's wait just a little bit, because let's go ahead and approve the agenda if somebody wants to make that motion.
To add, make the motion to add our comments, or no?
No.
Okay.
Just to approve.
Then I
It's
would
on
like
there.
to make the motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Hearing no no's, we will go on. All right, 1.3. I'm going to start a tradition of asking another board member to read this each meeting. So I'll start with our vice president this time.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This has a lot more than it usually does. Should we read all of those things?
No.
Or just asking you? Okay.
Get the bold.
All right. The mission of USD 489 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 489 BOE includes supporting a vision that encompasses high student achievement, highly effective staff, effective and positive communications, effective management of resources. Also vital to keeping focus on the district missions and vision are that the USD 489 BOE supports the district's core values, being a champion for all kids, bringing your best every day, carrying the banner for your school and district, and selling and creating possibilities and opportunities for students for their futures.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll move on to item 2, consent agenda. Mr. Wilson, would you like to tell us about the consent agenda?
Yeah, in the consent agenda tonight, you just have everything that you would probably normally see: financials, personnel transactions, and site council minutes, as well as last meeting's minutes. So nothing out of the ordinary tonight that I would need to highlight.
Well, I do want to say there is a retirement on here that I think a lot of us would like to comment on. So actually, I won't steal thunder. I'll
Go ahead.
Okay,
I'll
I will
jump in.
then. All right, Gloria Blackwell has put in her retirement paperwork, and we're all going to be a little sadder for it. She has been with the district 26 years, my understanding 20 years teaching before that, if I'm correct. And I mean,
49 years.
49.
49. Wow. And I mean, she's been amazing. My kids, she affected all their lives, and she touched every one of them. And I know that's the truth with a lot of us in the district, and so she will be missed.
I just piggyback on there. Mrs. Blackwell is involved with the whole school, not just the music program. I see her out doing crosswalk duty every afternoon, and it doesn't matter who is driving down that street. They stop and make sure they park in the right spot because they know Mrs. Blackwell will move them or they will have to listen. So, you know, a lot of those things you smile at, extra duty, but she takes the safety of kids, the education of kids very seriously. And, you know, what can you say? Someone that has taught for 49 years, 25 in this district, there's nothing you can say. She is just dedicated to the utmost.
If I may also add, I think we have another retirement that I'd like to recommend, or to commend. Lynette Bernasconi, speech language pathologist, 21 years of service. And certainly, as a district-wide personnel, I can't speak to the personal tributes that you guys have given for Gloria, but certainly in her role, she's done good things. So,
I would like to comment also. Lynette has had all her children go through our district, and she has worked all across the district. She spent some time at Washington when I was there, and she just, you can't find a more caring and kind individual who really cares about kids, and so she is, she'll be missed.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as written, as presented, I should say.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do. Chris, can you just tell us some of the financials? I know we were asking due to the bond, and can you just tell us again all those that you've added there that's going to be our new addition? Is that the bond funds bank reconciliation? Okay.
Yeah, so there's two different things that you can look at. The bond funds, the bank reconciliation will actually show you the bank account balances. So there's two bank accounts. One would be the improvement fund and one is the compliance fund. The reason that they're on there isn't so much the actual bank balance at this point, but it's showing you the interest that we're drawing, which helps support then as you look at the bond project tracking fund, that interest as it continues to come in, that's where we come up with that estimated total interest and the estimated total projects amount. And then in that bond project tracking, that is updated from last month, so it's about $300,000 more in pay apps, payments that have gone out at that point. So still playing. I don't know that I love right now how I'm showing you the project tracking. I'm going to keep playing with that report to make sure that you're getting exactly what you want. So if any of you have feedback after looking at those, let me know.
Okay.
But in essence, I want to be able to show you, okay, this is what you're drawing in interest, supporting the revenue side, and then over here, this is where the money is going out of that bond fund. And remember, this is all the project fund, so that's separate than bond interest, the repayment of the bond that the levy and the sales tax goes to.
Thank you.
One more piece. Also, if you look at the November interest, if you remember, that's where you'll see how much we're drawing in sales tax as well as all other interest across all funds, but that's specifically also where we show you the interest drawn towards that bond interest fund. So another little over $320,000 again. So all of those, if you remember, we estimated that on just south of $300,000 a month, and it continues to come in a little higher. So helps with no levy pressure at budget time.
And you make payments to like our contractor monthly, or how does that work?
Pay apps come as pieces of the job get finished, as the different like subcontractors may finish one job or at different stages throughout. We tend to pay once a month. If we get one really early in the month, we may submit pay apps. There's no really limit to how many times we can submit pay apps in a month, but we try to bundle it good at the end of the month.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, vote yes?
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. Hearing none, that is approved, and we will go on to Section 3, Public Forum. Do I have anyone that wishes to speak tonight? Okay. With that in mind, the board requests that all members of the public respect the rules outlined. Yeah, I'm going to. Respect the rules outlined below so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide input will be given the chance. Speakers are asked to start with stating name and address where they reside. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes to make their presentations. Speakers are asked to make only points that have not been made previously. Except to ask clarifying questions, board members shall not interact with speakers at the open forum. And the board asks that all members of the public respect these rules so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide input that has not already been given will have the chance.
Hi. My name is Renee Byrne, 1610 East 28th Street Terrace here in Hayes. I have worked in this district for 18 years, and my current role is principal at the Laughlin Elementary School. I want to take the next couple of minutes to thank all of our board members and district leadership for transforming this district into something truly great, one that I am very proud to be a part of. I would like to offer my congratulations to our new board members who will begin in January. I see 2 of you here, and 3. But I would also like to thank those board members who are finishing out their term tonight. Tammy Welbrock, you are a great example of seek first to understand. As a board member, you asked great questions and attempted to clarify understanding in others. I appreciate your devotion to this district and the pivotal role that you played in the passing of the bond. Thank you. Alan Park, although you are continuing, congratulations on another term on our school board. I admire the time that you dedicate to this position. I appreciate how visible you are. I see you at many of our school events, and please know that you are always welcome in your upcoming years. Thank you for your service. Lori Hurdle, I really appreciate the role you played on the board as someone who always waited to hear everyone out before forming your own opinion. You take the time to listen, and I appreciate that. A couple of months ago, every building administrator shared with the board our results from our needs assessment. This included talking about our biggest challenges that we are facing. Every building admin shared the exact same number one concern. I would hope that you all remember what that was. That was social emotional well-being of our families and our students. You listened, Lori, and you heard us. Thank you for listening to our educators. Craig Pallister, thank you for being USD 489's biggest cheerleader. Yell leader, I guess, whatever you want to say. Every chance that you have been given, you have sang our praises. You always take the chance to celebrate others. You have devoted your life to this district, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your devotion to our school community. Thank you, Craig, for your unwavering support and dedication. I've been in this district long enough to experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. We won't rehash all of that, but in the past 5 years, we have created a functioning educational system that prioritizes students, staff, and families. I am so proud to be a part of USD 489. We are no longer the laughingstock of the state, but a district to be admired, a district that others want to learn from, a district that more and more want to be a part of. The reason I am speaking tonight is because I am overwhelmed with gratitude for every staff member in our district who dedicate their lives to our youth. I am grateful for our district admin who listen to us, who hear us, who know us, and who care about us. I am forever grateful to our community who saw the desperate need to pass the bond. I am grateful to this board for advocating for our students, staff, family, and community. Thank you for holding us accountable under the premise of trust, with the understanding that we devote ourselves every day to the students and families of USD 489. My hope and prayer is that we continue this trajectory as a district, this trajectory of growth, success, collaboration, and innovation, a path where all students and families are supported, a path where we listen to our professional educators and provide them the support that they need to teach our children. The path that is the USD 489 path in providing a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll go on. Thank you. All right, district communications. Mr. Wilson, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I'll share a few things. We'll talk a little bit about just some bond updates. In your packet, you have some updates on Roosevelt as well as Hayes High and the baseball field. You know, as Roosevelt, if you've been by there, you will have seen that we are erecting steel, and it's starting to look like a place, and it's exciting. They've even added some decking to the library space, so you're starting to see the actual space that will be in the media center. They're continuing to do some drywall inside as well as some fireproofing and installing ductwork in the renovation areas that is being done inside of Roosevelt. So out at Hayes High, of course, you're starting to see it come together. If you've looked at the pictures that I included in the agenda, you're starting to see the footprint laid out. You can see where the football field is in relationship to the building in terms of where the drive. You can start to see the areas that are forming the driveway areas going into the high school. Just a big part of what is happening. You'll see a lot of holes, and everyone says, "What? I didn't know we were having basements." Well, we're technically not having basement. What they're doing is they have to dig those areas down. They then bring in fill material that is manufactured to be the kind of stuff that we can build buildings on. So that's what you're seeing. We did have a big moment last week. We poured our very first concrete footing out there on Thursday of last week, which was exciting to know that that's happening. So things are just clicking along, and it's just right on schedule. Fortunately and unfortunately, the weather has been good for us. Unfortunately, we need a little moisture, but that does slow construction. So.
Any chance you could put some video on the district
Yeah,
site?
the camera has been put up, or they are getting it put up. The camera that there'll actually be 2 cameras that will track progress. So we'll have some of those time lapse videos that will start appearing. The cameras are just being. They were digging some holes for the poles for the cameras to be set up on. So you should be able to see those. I would guess probably by the new year, you'll start to see some time-lapse photos of progress being made, and you can track that. Of course, the baseball field, once again, is being laid out. If you've looked at the pictures that I included in the packet, you'll see a beautiful photo of the baseball field. I mean, it's an amazing picture. The turf is all done. Now they're just doing the infill of the sand and rubber. That will be complete in a couple weeks. Lighting and netting will be installed here at the end of January, and bleachers will be installed sometime in February. So we're right on track to have everything completed out at the baseball field. So as far as the updates on anything bond and outside of our bond, as far as project upgrades, it's going along really well. Did want to, I don't know, is there any questions about any of that?
May I just
Yep.
make a comment? Because I won't be here when it gets to that phase. Something the hospital did when they finished getting done with their construction, they had a beam signing of the last beam put in place. Is that something you're considering?
Yep, we will actually be doing a beam signing at Roosevelt starting next week, or this Friday. This Friday, we're doing a beam signing for all Roosevelt students who are currently attending school there, and that beam will be placed inside the school. It won't actually be visible
No.
inside the school, but
Yeah.
at some point, people will be able to see what was signed. So, and we'll do that at the new Hayes High as well when we get to that point. So, yes, we'll
Awesome.
be doing that. For the board, just wanted to make you aware of a change that we are needing to make for the meeting schedule. It was originally put out that January 8th would be our regular board meeting, January 22nd would be our work session. Because of the business office and with the timing of paying bills and Christmas and everything, it's just necessary and need to flip that. So what we're needing to do is January 8th would be our work session, and then January 22nd, where the board does take action, that will happen on January 22nd. So just wanted to make you aware. Doesn't change the date, still the same dates, just the difference in the meetings. I also wanted to just remind you about the Hayes High Career Expo that is being held December 12th and 13th. Becky Hickert, Assistant High School Principal, invited all of you, as well as new board members. I think it's going to be a really cool thing. This is the first time they've done this, and just remind you as students are just sharing their work-based learning experiences, and I think it'll be a great opportunity for you as a board member. The times are through, it starts at 9, goes to noon, I believe, and then from 1 to 3. So you can, on both days. So got a lot of times, different times you can go. So I just also wanted to share congratulations, Lindy McDaniel, our Assistant Special Education Director, also serves as our West Side Principal. Lindy got recognized for receiving the Samaritan Heart of Ellis County. She was recognized for her service to students and her desire to make the school community she works in the best it can be. So if you know anything about Lindy, that describes exactly what she does. So wanted to highlight
She's here.
that. Oh, she is here. There she is. I wouldn't have said all the nice things. Yeah. And just, I don't know if I can do it any better than Ken or what Renee said, but I did want to share my thanks to Craig, to Lori, and Tammy. As a superintendent, you do work closely with board members and you get to know each other. It has been a good 4 years. You know, when Ken talks about COVID, that was a stressful time for everybody, including board members. And so I did appreciate everything that you did as board members to make that go swimmingly well. And sometimes I know you took some criticism, but I appreciated the way you handled your jobs. I also, I don't know as school board members if you actually build resumes, but I think you have a pretty impressive resume in just a 4-year time. Thought I'd highlight some of the things that you guys played a part in that were incredible during the last 4 years. You were part in increasing staffing in our district. Over 20 positions have been added back, and we called it the build back, to try and get our district back to the levels that were needed, and you guys played a big part in making sure that happened. You were part in adding counselors, teachers, nurses, classified positions, support staff, public relations, instructional coach, administrators, librarian positions. I could probably go on. I probably missed. That's incredible, and that you supported that. You've been a part of some systems improvements that were huge for our district. We did some things with Skyward, which was a big change, approving that change as a board. That it was a little bit of cost involved, but it's been paid off dividends. And Chris and his team have done a tremendous job in leading that. Our Raptor system, which was our school safety security software that was added and supported by you as board members for some costs that are incurred every year to make that happen. Appreciate that. I think also as board members, you helped increase wages in this district at pretty good levels. Over the last 4 years of your time on the board, we've added over $7,500 to the base in this district, which has been a tremendous help in pushing everyone up a little higher. And you also have done the job in classified salaries, increasing probably approximately about 15% in classified salaries. You've helped with some of the things that we've really tried to do as a district for our instructional focus, supporting our MTSS, kind of some things we've done to overhaul the MTSS system. And being a part of that and asking great questions, the teacher clarity, the student success criteria that we have become embedded into our district, and we appreciate your support there. Like was mentioned, you were a part of the bond, and I appreciate your support in getting the on the ballot, as well as when I came to you for individual buildings, supporting those with your support and positive vote. So that was important. We've had HVAC upgrades in the district during your time that have really upgraded every building in our district, which was a huge, huge deal. We've added square feet to every building in terms of what will happen with the bond. Every building will see an increase in square footage. You've been a part of upgrading athletic fields and lighting, which is incredible. So just wanted to say thank you for your 4 years of service and your dedication to the student, school, staff, and community. Your contributions, your ideas, your energy, enthusiasm have been invaluable and greatly appreciated. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Now can I say my?
Yes, yes. Tammy asked if she could say a few words, and this is the right time.
Okay, so I gotta take off my glasses. Darn you for starting to tear up there.
Who said that? There was a.
I'm sorry. I did have my glasses on. I couldn't see you correctly. When I first began, which would be 4 years ago in December, before I actually started the term, I got to go to the KASB statewide board training. And when I told people where I was from, they actually, oh, that's too bad. We understand that that's a really tough board of education, and statewide image was one that I wanted to really help address during this time. And so I want to take the time, thank you, we did some work that I'm really proud of. Certainly in the first few months, I know it's been said, but I don't think people understand how difficult it was to come into a board where the teacher negotiations were not yet approved, and just the level of emotion that was part of that. And I think not only were we able to keep us from going to impasse that first year, I think we've really healed and we've worked hard. I know Craig and I think Ken has been a part of those negotiations, and we've worked really, really hard to open lines of communication and just mutual respect for the work that all of us are doing, and I'm so pleased. In fact, to see the collaboration that is now taking place at those negotiations is amazing. And I don't even call it COVID, I call it a global pandemic, because a week before the state, before we were starting school, the state put it in our lap. So the very day that they did that, where we as a school board had to make the decisions that were big at that time, and we had a week to basically become experts, the night that that happened, we're getting critical emails asking how did we get our doctorate degree. And I'm never said to be a doctorate, to have a doctorate, and I think we did the one thing we were trying to achieve, and that was to keep the schools open. And there were schools across the state and nation that couldn't say the same. I'm really, really proud of that. I also think it's important, while serving as president, I was the first one in decades to be able to celebrate a third-year superintendent. The last one was Fred Kaufman, how many years ago? Having been at the chamber and seen the turnover at that very important position, I saw what it did to an economic impact in our community, but I cannot imagine working for a district that would have had to have had as much turnover at the leadership, so I cannot express now we got a fifth year. So, and then of course we passed a bond after failed attempts, and we set a stage for some amazing work on buildings, let alone a new place for Hayes High. I was elected. I promised to carefully consider situations, research diligently, and work at building a stronger culture across our district. I feel that I lived up to that promise, and again, am proud to have served my community in this manner. But I would be remiss to not thank 4 incredible leaders and a 5th one over there that's just darn cute. But no, I really want to share, in seriousness, the support and inspiration, knowledge that you've shared with me as a board member. Maybe I'm talking for the rest, but Ron, Shanna, Kyle, Chris, Jess, all of you have done amazing work, but I really admire the passion you do it with. As long as you are at the driver's seat guiding our bus forward, I think we'll be able to continue this legacy of achievement. It's been my honor to serve with you, for you, and with all of you as well. So, and I appreciate all the teachers that have come out today to be here while you're here, show your support, whatever, but thank you for being here and being heard. So, thank you. My book is done.
Lori, do you have anything to say, or?
As you all know, I'm not one that says a whole lot. When you put me in front of a bunch of people, I say things that I wonder who said it. It's one of those things that I say, who said that? You know. But I guess I want to say that I have enjoyed so much serving on this board, mainly because I have enjoyed working with not only the administration, the community, and the teachers and the staff, but also knowing that all of these people are affecting our students. And to me, I believe that all of these people have given our students an excellent education, not only through the classroom, but through the fact that they are just wonderful people. And you couldn't ask for any better community, I guess, to help our students learn and to develop a passion, not only for education, but to continue to have a good life ahead of them. And you all, I think, are accomplishing that very, very well. I want to thank all of you for coming out and for the words that were said. I didn't expect it, but I have to say it will always be cherished, and it made me feel very good. Thank you so much. I want to thank all the board members. You're just excellent people to work with. I fell in love with all of you. You know the administration. I fell in love with you. I think I was up in your offices more often than I probably should have been, and it was just for pleasure. It wasn't for because I had a lot of business, but I just enjoyed being with you. So I guess I want to thank everybody and say that this has just been an honor to serve this community and all of the people that go along with that, including our students. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for serving. Craig, do you have some wisdom?
I cannot say it any better than the two board members that just talked. I know coming onto this board, Lori and Tammy could just tell people and be a spokesman for this district of how important education is. And as Mrs. Burns said, I'm sometime a cheerleader, sometime a yell leader, and I yell a little too much at times, and I take the heat on that. But I've reflected a lot since the election. We moved in 1992. I'm not going to go every year. From 1992, my oldest daughter was just getting ready for kindergarten. And I had the opportunity to come to Hayes, and my wife was an educator. Her family were a family of educators, and we wanted the opportunity to come to Hayes to raise our family, our girls, in an education supporting district and community. When we looked at our community and we said, okay, the top 3 employers at that time, Fort Hays State University, Hayes Med, and USD 489. You knew the district is dedicated to education. And I have had the privilege and opportunity to be involved with that for over 30 years. And, you know, I am just amazed. If you can listen to me just a few more minutes here, very few more minutes. One of the things that reflects, I had the opportunity to go back to Hayes Middle School last Saturday. They were recognizing a coach, a teacher that had spent his whole almost life, not just at Hayes Middle School, but Hayes Junior High, TMP, out at different things, Bob Threlkel. And they honored him the other day and his family for the privilege of having him work with their kids. And, you know, I have not seen so many tears in a gym full of wrestlers in my life. Usually it's the losing wrestler sometimes, but it was everybody that had known Bob for that. And that is kind of where I want to say, this district cares about people, it cares about kids, and we came in, Tammy and I talked 4 years ago and hit Ron up and said, we need to do a better job of telling this community, everybody, the good things that are going on. And we said, we need somebody that can get that message out. And Ron found Chrissy Crow. And that was a valuable to all the bond issue, everything. I'm not going to go back over everything, but my biggest thing that I struggled with over the last year or two since the bond issue, we as a district should have been celebrating, talking about the positives of this district, and we got bogged down too many times. We got bogged down on little procedures, little things that people didn't see the whole picture. So I want to also commend, it is so valuable. I said this when I was running for the school board. Well, it didn't work, but when I was running for the school board, how important it is to have a superintendent that stays for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 20 years, till they find another position, because the leadership, it comes down to all the buildings, all the people. And so, thank you, Ron, for everything. I thought I knew a lot about education after spending 25, 30 years as a principal. I want to give a couple names. I learned so much from Ron, from Shanna, from all the district administrators, Mike Walker that was the previous board president, Lance Bickle that was on the board. I came into this position thinking I knew a lot about education. There's more than I know. That's why we have to have good leaders in our district. Okay, I can tell my wife, I'm surprised the phone hadn't rang. So thank you, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Craig, and thank you for all your years with the district. At this time, I just say, let's give them a round of applause. Hey, you still got work to do, though.
Yeah.
And we will continue working, and then at the end, everybody give them high fives, hugs, whatever you're comfortable with.
Mr. President.
Oh, yeah.
I have a comment or
Oh,
a question to ask Mr. Wilson. All this information that we have on the bond is excellent information, and people haven't had an opportunity to look at it, where it has the updates from Naples and the financial stuff. That is really good. We have a great website. On our website, we have the timeline, the plans, they're all available there. Could we add additional and put this information on there so people can see those pictures and see that updated?
It's on there.
Is it on something
I looked,
besides that?
Mr. Wilson, I looked today and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's, we'll show it to you. It's on there.
Okay. Because I went to bond progress and I saw some drawings and things, but I can't find these pictures.
We can highlight it. Yeah.
Maybe
I know
update.
Chrissy is updating it regularly. Once we get these out, she's updating it. I say that it's there. I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, or make it easier to find.
Yeah,
so
like
it's up
a
on the
folder
front.
for the financials part, so people can just click on that and see all that. updates that Chris has done a great job showing it. That's really good information, so I think the community would really like to see it. Thank you.
Anything more before we go?
No, that's what I had.
Okay. Okay, then we will go on to action item 5.1, Roosevelt Elementary Secure Door Access Control. Mr. Wilson.
Okay, this is just part of the process as we start on some of the bond work to, and you've heard about this in terms of what we want to do with our secure door access control system, updating it across the district. And tonight is just to get this started for Roosevelt. And so Rusty is here, and he is, you can come on up and talk a little bit about what we got going.
Okay, as far as the history of where we've been, as we started this project, there was following the security and access control that we had done before, which is basically keyed locks with card access on the outside. That was the original plan of where we were going to go, and then as we were developing all that, we found out there was a better system, and it was Salto. Give us more control as far as access control at a better cost than what we were as far as what we were doing with keyless access before. It's about 3 times less expensive as where we're at with our other, what we were currently using. So we took a look at that, brought it into the bond. It was developed into the bond as part of the scope, and moving forward, going away from keyed systems to keyless systems. As we made that as we're making that progress, we're going to be touching the buildings. Part of it, as I put in the summary that I gave you earlier, part of it is contractor provided, contractor installed, and will be bid out through Navholz. Part of it is district bid and district provided and district installed. As I stated, district installed doesn't necessarily mean that we're installing it ourselves, but we're taking the cost of that installation either through our own people or through outside contractors. So the bid that you have before you right now is one of the steps in that with Roosevelt. It basically deals with all the new construction and then bringing what's left of the building over to the keyless system that we're wanting to go to. You've got the numbers in front of you. It's 147 something. That includes all the networking. That includes the labor too for the installation, all that piece of it. A bid was put together. It was sent out for proposals for sealed bids to come back in. We had several companies that looked at it. I know Scott spent time with one company, quite a bit of time, that we were totally shocked when they did not bid. For as much time that we spent with them and as much information as we gave them, we were sure they were going to be a bidder. Unfortunately, when it all got said and done, we only had the one bid, and that's what came in. So that's what you have before you, and that's sort of where we're headed. I will add that the high school project, that will be the contracted part, contractor provided, contractor bid, so that'll be going through Navholz. You will not see that. You'll see that coming through their bids. So that's where we're at. Questions?
Let me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me ask Chris this. It's coming out of capital outlay, and I don't have that in front of me. Did we have that already on there, and it was already planned?
Yeah, part of the map, part of the 5-year map for the capital outlay included the conversion to electronic block.
Russ, can you tell me the difference between what we have now? It's all networked through,
So,
because how old is the system we have now?
The current system that we're using is a networked system also, but the platform that it was designed under is outdated, and we can't really do the control that we need to do. You basically have a card that's got an antenna on it that puts out a signal that tells it that this is the card number, and then you do all the programming through the lock, and when you walk up with the card, the lock has the program in to either recognize it and unlock the door, or not recognize it and not unlock the door. There's a limited amount of what we can do on the backside as far as how often we can let that door open, how much we can actually see as who's going through the doors and stuff. We also try to group people into groups to where certain staff only have 9-month access, 9-month 24-hour access, 12-month 24-hour access, and so on, but there's only 4 of those groups. There's 5 if you count the non-group. There's one non-group that has 24/7 without any kind of control, and then you've got 4 other groups. One of those groups is actually used to toggle the locks. So the locks that we have, you actually have to set a card and set up a group in order to toggle a lock open so it will stay open. So like with a key, when you unlock the lock and you pull the key out, you leave it unlocked. You put the key back in and lock it. Well, that's what toggling does with the locks that we currently have. You toggle that lock open, then you present the card again to toggle it back shut. All those things are really time consuming. It's basically a database that you're going through, and you have to, for every person that you put in there, you have to check each lock that you want to put them in. Salto, on the other hand, when you go into it, it's a newer platform, so it's got multiple ways to go into it as to what you can do. And instead of check marking each key for each person, you go in and you develop a zone, which a zone basically goes in and you can put groups of doors into a zone. So if I want a math suite in the elementaries, I can put all the math rooms in a zone. Fifth grade rooms in a zone. If it's the high school, I could put all the math rooms, I could put all the history rooms, I could put all those zones together. If it's athletics, I could put a zone for athletics. If it's administration, there'd be a zone for that. Then you can go into the next level, which is your access level. And in the access level, then you can set whether you want that card to expire at a certain time, if you want, how you want that card to function as far as access and all those things, and you set that up, and then as you bring those zones in, you can actually set zones up to allow entry at different times and all that. So it gives us a lot more. I can tell you one of the areas that we're looking at is we've had some secured areas like where we store student records and all those things. You can actually set those areas up under the new system to where those can be accessed through certain hours. So someone couldn't go in and access them after hours. They'd have to access them if they choose to. I mean, that's up to administration. But you could do that. If you've got staff that really only needs access through the day, you can set that up. One of the big ones for me is I've got contractors, outside vendors, that we bring in. We'll do it during the day when school's going on. We want them to come in, go through the office, check in, and do all that. After hours, I can set it up to where they can come in after hours, work on the project, give them access for a certain period of time, come in, work on the project. When that time ends, their card expires. If I don't want them in there through the whole night, I can set the time range in the evening that they can work. I can set their time range in the morning. So it gives us a lot better tracking. The other piece that we were having problems with as far as access control, I've been here 10 years, and what we started with, we tried to improve it about 5 years ago. Those improvements helped, but we just went through another deal where we're going through and actually looking at access control again, and this time Skyward was mentioned. We're pairing Salto. It has its way of tracking individuals or positions. Skyward does the same thing, and we also talked about Raptor and all of our alerting. You've heard all 3 of those pieces. Salto will allow us to tie all 3 of those pieces together to where we can track, communicate better, and if everything goes right, Scott was working on that today, we will actually, when they pick up their phone to do a lockdown for the building, we should be able to synchronize that with Salto to actually lock the building down without anybody going to the locks.
We just changed that over about 3 years ago at Roosevelt, is that right?
As far as Salto?
As far as the new locks that were installed?
The new locks that were installed were started probably 6 years ago, and they've been being installed over a period of about 3 years. So
But at Roosevelt, because of while I was on the board, we approved those
right,
locks.
and that's what I'm saying. We started that upgrade about 6 years ago. That was actually started that was actually started before COVID, and then COVID shut it down for a while. Then we went back and restarted that back over.
So you show us a list, and those are all the doors that we're going to be getting new locks for now? That list in there?
The list that's in there is a list of all the doors that will be having locks installed on it, yes.
So all the closets and things like that that we did replace, we're going to have to replace them again? Or can they be still used? Can we eliminate some of those and do that in phases, or do we have to do all of them?
We'll be doing all of them. If we're going to truly go keyless, we're going to end up redoing all of them. And that's one of the downsides of it. And that's one of those deals 6 years ago when I started this wasn't an option, and the system that we were under was about 4 times higher than what keyed locks were at that time. So we went that direction because we just couldn't afford to do it. And now we're to the point that we see the need, and the system that's there is economical enough to do it.
Are we able to recoup some of our money by selling those locks?
Yes,
Like $250 is what
I've
we paid
actually
for?
been putting those locks back. We're storing them right now. We'll put those out for auction. The one thing that I left out that I wanted to give you a history on keyed locks too. Does everybody understand what a patented keyway is?
Of what?
Patented keyway. So in school districts, we buy what's called a patented keyway. And then what that keyway is it's patented to the school district. And it's designed so that you can't go down to the hardware store and get keys cut. Well, patented keyways only last for a certain amount of time. And that's another thing that gets schools in trouble. We buy keyed locks and we go out and we get a patented keyway, and depending on where that patent's at, you might have a few years and you may have up to what the patent life is. But lots of times you get them after the patent life's already partially gone, and you end up only having a key that's really good for about 5-6 years. So then in about 5-6 years, that key no longer is patented, and now that key stock can be out to your local hardware, and they can start cutting those keys. I know, like at previous districts that I were in, Sargent had an RF key stock, and you could go down to any of the stores. It was a patented key stock when it started. It wasn't patented, and before long everybody figured out they could get it, and they'd go cut their own keys, duplicate it, and hand it to their friends. So that's another piece of keys that's a problem. The security on those, as far as how long before they're going to be out of patent where they can be copied, is just a number of years. That's the beauty part about going keyless, is that's not going to run out. Once you have a card issue, shut it off, and that card's no longer any good, and you can reassign a new card, and you don't lose. You don't have to keep coming back and re-coring or repinning keys or doors to do that, and reestablishing new key systems. The other downside to keys are once they're lost or once they're handed to somebody else, there is no way to shut them off. Once they go out, they're out.
So currently, Russ, the teacher has to have a key also to lock it, like if there's an emergency? They have to carry a key with
that's
them?
what I'm saying. Once we go keyless, there will be no key. There's not even a key slot in the door.
Okay, so that's what we have now, and we're going to change that so they don't have to have that key
Correct.
carried with them all the time.
Everybody will be carrying a card similar to this, and the way we set the cards up, there's 2 cards in the center of this. We've got IDs on both sides of it. There's 2 cards in the center. One of them will operate the previous card locks that we have, and then there's another about a quarter-size chip in here that actually does the Salto locks. So currently, we're doing both back and forth. We actually, in some of the card locks that we have now, we're going to reuse those in areas where we do not, like the board office, the bus barn, those areas where we don't have as much turnover, and we can actually reuse those so that we're not out the money that we've spent on those locks, because we have a considerable amount of those locks in the district, so those will be reused. It'll be the locks that actually have a physical key that we'll be putting up for auction to sell.
And do each of those locks have a battery?
Yes, they do have batteries in them. Batteries on them will, the locks that we currently have, they last about 3 to 4 years. Lifespan on these is about equal to that, isn't it, Scott? So,
That's, how much is that? What do you have to put in to have that expense, maintenance to replace batteries?
you know, that, part of that cost was already going on. I don't know that I can realistically answer that as far as what the actual cost would
What's one
annually
battery
would be.
cost?
I mean, I could,
$5, $10?
I could look that up and tell you, or look into that, but I can't tell you that right now.
So the concern then is, do you have an early warning that it's going to be going out? So that
They
no
actually have
teacher-
a port on them that there's a device that you help set it, you encode it and set it all up, and you can put that in there, and then it'll actually give it a charge long enough to reopen it with a card. So there are ways to do it.
The locks are locked all the time, so you just use it to swipe to open it? But does it
No,
lock it?
the locks actually have multi-functions. That's the other thing. They have an intermittent mode, which would be like a storage lock, to where you go up, you present the card, the door unlocks, you open it, and as soon as you open it, it locks back. As soon as you close it, it's locked again. Then they have what's called office mode, and in office mode, you go up, you present your card, you wait for it to cycle, then you wait for it to cycle one more time, and it unlocks it and leaves it unlocked. Then to lock it, you've got to go back out, present your card, and wait for it to cycle, and then once it cycles, it's locked again. We're currently using what's called timed office mode. So in timed office mode, you can set it up to where you only have Roosevelt, you only have from 7:30 in the morning to a certain time, like I think it's 8:30, that would go into office mode. So when you present that, it's called timed office mode. So when you present your card, it'll only open during those time periods on office mode. Once you put it in office mode, at 8:30, it automatically locks it back. So that's timed office mode. And there's classroom mode. There's several different modes that you can put it in on that piece of it. And that's one of the things that the current system would not do.
Scott, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just to clarify, batteries, there's double A batteries with 50,000 cycles, and the system does give us early warning when they're going down, so.
I noticed that there's several places here that utilize the system. Have you had a chance to contact any of them as far as references?
As far as the system,
Yeah.
we actually contacted several different places, but we actually have part of the locks already in place, so we're already using it, so we know what
I
we're
see,
doing with
I
that.
see, that makes sense, okay.
I mean, we ran a trial period with it. We invested in some locks. There was some areas at Roosevelt that we went ahead and put them in just to see how they were going to work. One of them was our temporary classroom. We also have them on a couple of the outside doors to where we could see how that function was going to work and actually make sure all the functionality was going to work so that we knew what we were getting into before we got there. So we've been using them pretty much since the first of the school year, at least, and then adding them back in.
Okay. The other question I had is, how long are you looking at these lasting in the future?
These, till the lock actually stops working, I'm guessing we probably got a 15-year life is probably what they are, and I look for them to go past that.
Really?
The thing about it is, I can't really answer that because it depends on the abuse and how much abuse they get as to how long they're going to last. But on average, they'll probably last just as long as any of our other locks. The current system that we have, a lot of those have been in place for years. They were in place before I came here. I've been here 10 years, and they're still actively working, and we have not had any problems.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid. If we need further discussion after the motion, we can move that direction. I'd have a motion to approve the Saldo Secure Door Access bid, locks, network equipment, and installation to complete new construction and renovation of Roosevelt Elementary project at a cost of $148,998.28.
A second.
I have a motion and a second, but we will continue discussion. I do want to, I have pulled up the capital outlay, and I'm looking, and we've got it budgeted $200,000 each year for this and the next two. are we, will we be able to keep to that, do you think, or is that going to be?
So when you look at that 5 years, I think in the next 5 years, we had around 68,000 budget. That like squishes some of it back, but because you had a balance, a cash balance, you can do that. So I would say, even if you accelerate that a little bit,
Okay, yeah, and it's 775 is what you got, so. Okay.
And, Mr. President, I just wanted to bring forward, I'm not participating with the conversation, and I will be abstaining on this vote because I am an employee at Next Tech, so conflict of interest.
Okay.
Doable.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's the installation calendar at Roosevelt?
So there's different phases. Currently, we're in phase 3. So these locks will be going in as part of phase 3. And the spring, we'll start phase 4, and then phase 5 is all the new addition. And that'll all be coordinated. We're providing them, but that'll all be coordinated with Navholz.
So everything but the new should be installed by this next school year?
Yes.
Is this brand the only brand that works with our other software? Does it have to be this brand? Is
As
that
far
all
as what would work with the other software?
Well, like Skyward, or what's the other software that works with it?
Alarm locks, you mean as far as those Skyward and that? The Skyward piece is separate. The way we're utilizing it, they work well together. The Raptor piece is the one that we're trying to make it work with, to where if someone in the building decides to put the building into lockdown, as soon as they punch that into their phone and put it into lockdown, it will lock down, and that's the piece we're securing right now. That's the piece that Scott's working on. So as far as I know, it will work with this, but it will not work with what we're currently on. And I don't know if there's any other systems out there. I don't know enough about the other systems. This was what was affordable.
Is that why we only had one bid, is because it's narrowed down to just this
No,
one product?
it didn't have anything with that because it was like products. I mean, they were bidding the exact same product, so it wasn't that. And then as far as what Scott's finding out, as far as how it would actually access it, they would actually be bidding those same products. So they had access to the exact same products, they just didn't bid it for some reason.
So is this part of this bid process, part of the Greenbush?
No, this has nothing to do with Greenbush. This was us actually putting a bid spec together and putting it out for bid.
I'd like to take a vote now.
All right, we have had a call for a vote. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, vote yes. Yes. All those opposed, vote no.
And abstain.
Oh, and those who are going to abstain, abstain. Hearing no no's, we will move on. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your adding to the discussion.
Happy holidays, teachers.
All right, we will move to 5.2, O'Laughlin HVAC Project Phase 2. And
Yeah, I'll speak just a little bit real quick while Rusty takes a drink of water. So this is just phase 2 of O'Laughlin. If you remember last summer, we completed phase 1. The areas that we did not complete were areas that were still in question about when we do get to O'Laughlin eventually and do bond work. We weren't exactly for sure about hallways and what that might look like, and the gym, of course, what that capacity might look like. And so now that we've determined somewhat where everything's going to be placed, we're ready to do phase 2. This is a much smaller phase than the previous phases where we did classrooms. And so Rusty can give you the details, the fine details, in talking about what's in phase 2.
Okay, this project, we used ICE, Integrated Consulting Engineers, as the engineer to do the design on the project. We basically were going back and reutilizing the 4-pipe hot water, chill water system that was there, and going in and doing upgrades to it and replacing rooftops and then taking it over with a new control package in order to control it. When that building was built back in the day, comfort was at a little different level than what it is these days. They did not air condition any of the hallways. They didn't do certain spaces like they do now. The problem with that is the way the building operates now and the way we're utilizing it, it's not being utilized the same way that it was when it was designed and built. So once you start opening doors in, especially at the elementary level where you're leaving doors open and stuff for students, once you start leaving those doors opened into an uncontrolled space, you start having problems with trying to control the room that you're in. So one of the things we looked at when we were doing this design was that we needed to, one, ventilation's changed from when that building was built, so there's a lot more air makeup for a building to get air exchange than what there was in the 1950s and 60s when that was built. So we have what's called a DOAS, and basically it brings in the outside air, conditions it, and then brings it into the building to help pre-cool. It can be used to pre-cool or it can be used to help cool spaces. So one of the pieces that we had not done in the original design was to go ahead and address that because we weren't sure how that was going to impact with any of the bond work that was being done. We knew the library would be in that piece. We knew the office area would be in that piece. And we looked at all those places, the cafeteria, lunchroom, kitchen, all those places that might become part of the bond work, and we did not put that in the first scope. Since then, we've come back, worked with the Mike Fahey, who's our designer with DLR. We have now a basic scope of what's going to take work at a loft, what's going to take place at a loft, and as far as their work, we know what rooms they're working in, changing, what walls are moving, that kind of thing. So now we have a better idea of what's in and out of that scope. So we went ahead and went back and designed the second part of that with that in mind, which is now going to allow us to go in and start conditioning those hallways and picking those spaces up and doing that piece of it. We know what's going to happen in the office, so we can actually design the equipment that's going in there so that when they do make changes in the office area, it's going to match what their design is, so that piece is ready for them just to do duct work on wall changes and that kind of thing. Some of the areas that we knew were not going to be a part of the bond, we'll go ahead and pick up those rooftop units that we didn't change out at that time. There's some classrooms that we'll go ahead and change out. The library is going to change. That is not in the scope. And the cafeteria area and the kitchen area is going to change, and that is not in the scope. Those will be in the actual bond scope, and that will be designed with their engineers, and part of their scope is they do the addition on the old Laughlin. Now, if there's any concern about that not matching up, their engineers with DLR and ICE's engineers have been working together to make sure they're all on the same page, that pump sizes, all that piece is correct. So they've been working on both sides to make sure that when they get to their scope with the bond, everything's matched in and doing what it's supposed to be doing. I think Chris included the original budget in your stuff. Surprisingly, and to our surprise, it came in considerably lower than what we originally had budgeted for it. Now, a little bit of that is that the library is not in that scope, so that helped out a little bit as far as why we're a little bit lower than where we were at. The cafeteria kitchen area was sort of always in the bond scope because we knew that was going to change with the additions and stuff. So that's the history of it. That's sort of what's there. Every time I put one of these together, I try to think of everything you guys might ask, and I usually miss. So if you guys want to hit me with some questions, I'll try.
So phase 2 is 495,000.
Correct.
Which is 280,000 less than we budgeted.
Correct.
Correct.
And it'll be done over the summer here in 2024.
Correct.
So as far as phasing things in like this, are we sacrificing we're fixing a problem of things not working well enough. Is that going to cause any untoward discomfort as we work to match them? Like we're not going to do the library right now.
The
So-
library unit is sized for the size the library is currently.
Okay, I see.
Part of our problem was the library, the way they're gonna change it and the way they're splitting it out, we would actually, if we replaced it as it is, we'd oversize it.
Okay.
So they're gonna have to come in and resize to what the space is actually gonna be when it's done. So.
We're not
we're
creating
still-
any discomfort or?
We're not changing any of what's there now. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna, at some times, be a pain in the butt
Sure.
and be uncomfortable because it's an old unit and we still have to go fix them. That's the one thing that, as I look at tickets as we go through and then we're fixing that, those areas start going away. And I can tell you the people at the high school right now would tell you that the classroom area out there, by holding off and doing that, has been a total pain in the butt because
I've heard.
it's a problem, and it's a problem that will go away next summer,
Away.
but it's a problem right now. That same little bit of growing pain, Renee, maybe at O'Laughlin
She's
too,
over
the
there.
library, depending on whether it breaks down or what happens with it, that will be the only spot in there that will not have been touched right now that could be currently a problem. Well, cafeteria too, but those two spots could be a problem. We'll continue to work on them. The only thing is, by getting all the rest of it fixed, we'll actually not be getting called all over the district. We'll have time to actually go work on the two problems rather than 50.
So these newer units are more energy efficient? Are we going to see our gas bills?
Yeah, if you've been paying attention or watching anything with HVAC right now, there are so many, excuse me, so many rules and regulations coming out here. There is no way to buy anything that's inefficient. That whole thing is changing. Refrigerants have changed. Compressor pressures have changed. It's all changed to be more and more efficient all the time.
Is it
The only
just-
way you could be, I guess, more efficient is basically not have air conditioning
Are
like back when I was
is
a
it the
kid.
same controllers that we have at Hayes Middle School and the high school currently?
They will be the same platform, so there's different ways of doing controls. The platform itself will be the same platform. You can do what they call terminal strip, where you actually go in and you put all the controls that you want into it. All the projects that we've been doing right now is called BACnet. So the manufacturer puts their controls in, and then those controls are designed to be backnetted into what we're doing for our platform, and that's how these will be, the rooftops and stuff will
So
be BACnet.
still controlled by the company in Wichita?
No, there is nothing being controlled out of Wichita.
Not anymore?
It's all on it always has been.
So you have
Anything that was
control-
new is all on our server. It's more web-based now, or
So that
So-
company's not involved anymore?
Yes,
I
they
can't
are.
they're
remember.
involved as far as troubleshooting and doing that kind of thing, and always have been. But as far as the controls, how we set it up, how we monitor it, any of the guidelines, parameters that we use as far as how we do set points, all that, that's all us. And that has.
They just remote in and help us troubleshoot. That's what they
Right, but
do.
a few years ago, we had that problem that they were in the gym and they wanted to turn on the air and we couldn't do that. So we still have that, we have that ability now.
The gym, where?
It was at the high school, it was overheated, it was 3 or 4
Oh,
years ago.
well, okay, so the high school back in the day,
Okay, but that one, that could control somewhere else?
no, that was all pneumatics in that building. That's part of the problem that we're having right now,
All
and
right,
pneumatics.
then never mind, all right, okay. Okay. My other question, we were doing the Hayes High and then we swapped out some materials and things. Have we got all that used up, the pumps and things that we were going from? Are we still
That's
sitting on?
part of the phase two. That'll happen this summer. So all that stuff that we had in there,
So-
that will come in to play. And just the history quick on that. If you remember right, we started that project, the bond passed, and then all of a sudden we realized if we go ahead and they switch a whole bunch of stuff, we could be undersized, oversized, and everything that we're putting in. So we basically, the contractors agreed with us to wait a year to make sure that we could match what was going to ultimately be done with that building. That was last year. This year coming in, we'll go ahead and finish it this summer, and then that'll complete the high school.
It wasn't some of that equipment went down to Wilson or something too, and
Actually, we didn't have to
We didn't
move
swap.
any of it anywhere. When it's all said and done, it's pretty much all going to be reused right back where it's at.
so we're ready to
in the high
use,
school.
okay.
So is it stored somewhere, or is it?
Yeah, it's been stored in storage containers at Glassman right now.
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve change order to a Laughlin HVAC renovation project contract with BCS and Glassman Core to add the cost of Phase 2 and complete the project summer of 2024.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So is this a new bid, or is it just go with the last bid, or is that?
It's part of the same contract. It's basically bringing you in the cost for those changes. So the contract that we had with Glassman BCS included the entirety of the project. We put it into 2 phases because we didn't know how the second phase was going to interface with the bond project. So we left those pieces out, and we bid and brought in everything that was in the first phase with the understanding that we were going to bring the second, do a change order, and that's what this change order is, to bring in that second phase.
So we're not required to bid it again?
No, it's a change order.
Yeah, it was all of this was under that agreement of cooperative purchasing, so they were with multiple vendors anyway. But it was all, this is just a change order to add the price, so it wasn't, didn't need to rebid because it was all under the same scope from that first agreement.
But we first approved just Phase 1, right?
We approved the entire project and then the cost for Phase 1. And so this is the change order adding the cost for Phase 2 under that scope.
Mr. President, I call for a vote.
All right, we have a call for a vote. All those in favor for the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. All right, that is
Thank you, guys.
approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and so Scott gets to stand up now.
Rusty's not talking about the cameras?
You're not going to,
We're going to move on to 5.3 Roosevelt Elementary Security Cameras, and I take it, Scott, you're going to be presenting to us.
Go for it. Can we roll? All right.
Yep. Keep them moving.
So this kind of hits what Rusty talked about with the Roosevelt Edition. This is just continuing with the security cameras we already have in place, adding it to the new edition there. I was sitting back here running some numbers. The bid that went out on this, we did specify we wanted Go Axis as the brand. The sole reason for that was just the number of cameras and systems we already have across the district. It was funny enough, running the numbers back here, we're at 251 cameras right now across the district with 500 different views. So that's why we want to continue our work with Axis. We did receive 2 bids on it. One bid, one presented tonight, is from Next Tech. It was about $9,000 less than the second bid. So probably the quick questions there, quick details. If there's any details or questions you want me to go into on it.
How many do we currently have at Roosevelt?
Roosevelt right now has 27 physical cameras with 53 views off of those 27 cameras.
So we're going from 27 to 200? Is that
So
what you said?
there's 27 there. We're going to add in 21 more.
20 more.
When I say
Sorry.
that, like physical cameras hanging, but some of those cameras can have up to 4 lenses in them. So when I say one camera, it's actually 4 views we get off that. So the
That's not
27
part of the
cameras-
bond and the new edition, putting cameras in? Or?
we elected on this to go owner provided, owner installed, just so we could, I guess, keep some consistency in the system. If we kind of let that, I think, go with Napolz, then we could have ended up with, a system that didn't necessarily match or carry over.
So we're purchasing them and installing them?
No, we're purchasing, Next Tech would be installing, and that's in the price. So, like
this-
Rusty explained, owner provided, owner installed, but we're using a third-party contractor for the install.
This takes care of the whole, Roosevelt's done with 21.
Yep.
and this falls, for the capital outlet plan, it falls under that equipment and furniture, is that what the, okay. So we're well in that.
And Next Tech was the low bidder and a local bidder.
Yes. Yep. Like I said, they've done all,
Do they have any other, more than one bid on this?
we're at 9 buildings that they've helped us install over the last, we started this 4 years ago, about 4 years ago, so,
And there were 2 bids on this one?
yep.
Okay.
There is some repurposing of equipment that we'll do as the office shifts from where it's at now down to the new office. We'll relocate some of the live view monitors, things like that. The NVR that does the recording at that building, once we add all these cameras in, will be undersized for what's there. So part of this price is replacing that NVR. The NVR that's there, only 3 years old. We will bring that one back. That will go in our office as a spare, just with the investment that the district has made into the access systems across the district. Should we have any problem with an NVR at any building, we can take that NVR spare, put it at the building, and keep things going in the day or two, it takes us to get support out on it. So just with safety and security being, keeping that in mind, having a NVR for the number that we have in the district, having one on the shelf in the office is not a bad idea for us.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the security cameras for Roosevelt Elementary School from Next Tech for $39,710.87.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'm going to abstain again from this, but I would, if I may, make a suggestion. I remember being new in the board position and reviewing the entire bidding process as well as where vendors can go. I think that might be something to put on your radar for a future agenda, just because we've had a lot of bidding, and I know you're going to have questions about just the bidding process. That really helped me a lot when we went through that as a new board member. So.
So moved. All right, well,
I think it's a great idea.
all right, I have a motion and a second, and we have one we know is going to abstain. And so, all those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
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 All those opposed vote no? All right, hearing no nos, we will
And
go on.
abstain.
Thank you.
5.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Scott.
Scott.
Thanks,
Scott.
Scott, appreciate it. 5.4, wage adjustment after school care workers, directors, lunchroom supervisors, and crossing guards. Mr. Wilson. Oh, Chris. Over here.
Chris.
Chris, yeah.
As you know, the last few years, we've been targeting different groups to get, to do some different wage corrections. This one's kind of a wage correction, kind of a continuous thing, a little bit of both, I kind of talked to that. But we have, so as we've gotten most of our other positions to 1291 as that entry wage. Really the last ones that are below that right now are the after-school care and then cross guard and lunchroom duty. I'm talking about the lunchroom duty, cafeteria duty, because it could be breakfast or lunch. But the cafeteria duty and the cross guard, we have very few people that are outside of the district already that just come in for that hour or two to do those jobs. But they're like 90 something right now. Put them at 1291 just makes it stand pat with. A lot of times we'll have maybe a inspector or somebody else in the district that's already making 1291 now. Everybody out there doing the job is going to get you the same wage. Again, there's so few of them over the course of the second semester. It's going to cost about $3,000 for those positions. And they have been hard to fill, but those are, again, what we call hourly positions, so there's no benefits, there's no capers, there's no anything, it's just straight hourly wage for doing that job. The other side of it now is the after-school care workers and the after-school care directors. So, one, they've been hard to fill. Two, those are hourly positions too, so there's no benefits, there's no anything that goes with it, it's just the straight hourly compensation. So, any of our existing people like paras or food service or transportation that might be starting somewhere in that same wage, they're getting around $13 an hour worth of benefits on top of that between the health insurance and capers up to about 15 if you get, if you're doing 4 3 things like that. So it brings the wage in line with those, but what we hope is that it'll get a little bit easier to fill those positions and help us set higher expectations in those positions also. The director position gets a little extra time every day, and it does get a $1 an hour differential because they're the ones doing the scheduling, they're the ones taking phone calls, interacting with the parents. So, on the after-school care side, those are self-funding programs. So the district doesn't invest any general fund money into those. It's the fees for the parents that utilize the program, along with some work study dollars from 4 days. So in looking at cash balances in those funds, and especially given it some consolidation of buildings over the next few years, where we have one of the after-school programs, we have 3 after-school programs in the elementaries, we feel like we can maintain it about $20,000 over the course of a year, so about $10,000 over the next semester, cost increase to the after-school program.
Is there a reason why we do it in the middle of the year and then we're going to have another increase instead of waiting until the end of the year to do it?
So specifically for the after-school care, I think well, some of it has been over the last few years, we've taken groups, I think it was last year, we had some custodial things. So we've done the raises trying to keep pace, but then as we find groups that are noticeably behind, we've addressed them as they come up during the year. This one, I think it just makes sense because we do have so many people that are willing to or that are crossing over. And so maybe have an hourly para during the day, and there'll be an hourly para in the after school care. It wouldn't kill us if we don't do it now. We wait till the end of the year. But at the same time, I think we reported making the break at semester. There's a ton of turnover in those positions at semester because there's a lot of college kids. And college schedules change, and so as we're trying to hire and get those positions filled right now, I'd let the elementary principals speak to that more, but I think as we talk as a group, they would welcome any help trying to fill those positions with the right kind of people because they are challenging positions and we do rely on them a lot. And so we want to make sure that we get them filled and we get them filled with the right people.
So you don't think that they'll have to raise fees to make this happen?
Not in the next year.
We're
talked
talking
about that. In the next
3,000 this year, right? But
That
then,
would be the after-school care. It's about 20,000 across
20,
the 4
okay.
buildings for
So
the
23.
after-school care. But there are some cash balances in there, and they use those for supplies and things like that. But as we've talked, over the next year, it's not going to cause us to raise the fees. Then we'll be starting to realign to 3 elementaries, and we'll see what happens then. But we haven't done an increase in fees for quite some time.
Since I've been here.
I was going to say, how's this been since then?
So-
We're currently charging $4 for 2.5 hours of after-school care, which is really a bargain for a day.
That's enough.
$20 a week.
So
and
the,
can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
sure.
Or is, do
I
you
was
mind
just
if?
at the-
Okay. Oh, well, I was just wondering, what's the competitive rate for other positions that we're competing with? And I'm assuming food service would be one of the ones that we would compete for an hourly, kind of midday weird
Yeah.
hours.
So, I mean, if you drive through the drive-through at Wendy's, it's $14 an hour. If you look at McDonald's, I think it's $13. And these are such small windows, like, it's really suited to or maybe someone who just wants to go be in the schools for a couple hours a day, maybe independent course, whatever. So it's a pretty niche market, but I think for us, almost internally, if we can get some of the people that we already have working in an hourly position to now say, oh, okay, maybe I want to go be the after-school care director too. Kind of thinking internally, we might gain some market value there, get a few more hours out of the people that we have.
How many of these positions are open right now?
Right now, it's semester changeover, so I think we had 4 or 5 on Saturday, between Saturday and Sunday from the principals. We had 4 or 5 different notifications to go post the job because we've got kids stepping out of the job and we're going to have to go find somebody to replace.
We started the year this year without all of our positions.
That's what I'm asking. It's like, how many were empty already?
We started the school year though in August, we couldn't fill positions.
Yeah. Well, Wilson's been at least 1 short. We were going back and forth. They've been at least 1 short all year. I'm not sure. Wapa's
Left it
been,
open just.
Roosevelt's short. Yeah, so.
We are pretty good. If we change over the semester, because they're college kids, I have one that's going to student teaching, you know, in my building, which is nice. It is nice to get those kids. I have 4, and 2 of the 4 are parents, also they work 2 hours, so
nice because they know the kids, they, you know, they have a relationship with them. It's discipline a lot easier between 3:30 and 5:30.
I would also comment, I'm a father of 5, and so my last one is going through the after-school care. I don't recognize anybody out there from last 2, I mean, the rollover is constant. A few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, you would recognize some faces from the year before. Not anymore. I would also tell you, they tend to be, I would assume 4-day students that are education majors, right? Not some,
Not all.
but some.
We have some. The issue we face is if students need more hours, like we're not able to have competitive hours. They typically
Right.
get 12 to 16 hours a week working after school care because the shifts are always pretty short. You know, it's at most a 2 or 3/4 hour shift a day and they don't always work every day.
And some of it's, I don't think it's too stressful of a job, but I mean, but the other day I walked in there and there was a kid crying his little eyes out and he wanted to go home and it was a one-on-one and there wasn't enough money for that gal for that half hour. So, I mean, they get the happy kids playing t-ball and foursquare, and then they got some that they're disciplining and there's some that they're trying to redirect, and there's one kid that wants to go home right now, and you know, that's thrown in the fire while you're trying to tell that, you know, the kid's crying, he's got to stay, and so,
And they're tired by the kids that attend
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's just a job.
So does the
Mr.
director,
Chairman?
does the director get about how many, 20 hours a week, or is it 15?
They get, I think we have them set at 3 hours, 20 minutes a day instead of 2 hours.
And 5 days a week they have it?
5 days a week.
I-
Because they're buying the supplies, and again,
Sure.
jump in, but they're buying the supplies, they're doing a schedule, like because we haven't been able to fill. I mean, we've got, Wilson, we spent all last year mostly with PRN. We had, okay, you want to work today, and next week Thursday, you're going to work till, so that director job's doing a lot of staffing, they're getting the supplies, and then they're fielding the calls, doing, their secretaries are doing the billing, but they're helping with all of that stuff, tracking all of that.
So 20 hours, they could qualify for capers. If they're doing 20 hours a week. How many hours?
They're under 18. So
Because they're off in the summer, so they don't get to 1,000.
Right. So they're not, none of those are capable positions.
So they have to have how many hours to get
We
capers?
keep, they're 18.
Eight.
Anything, 18 and 3/4 is what makes you capable eligible. Our hourly positions, what our nomenclature, an hourly position is under 18 and 3/4.
So
Is it-
when they combine with another position,
As long as they are two separate positions, then they don't combine to be capers eligible. It's different than ACA. If an ACA is at 30 hours, but that's on our full-time health benefits. Any combination of positions in the district get to 30 hours, you are ACA eligible. However, capers, as long as you are in two different positions that are 18 hours, so if they were working 18 hours as a special ed para, and then they work 18 hours again as after school, they still have capers eligible.
Mr.
so I
Pres-
want to,
Go ahead.
it costs more to do that than you have to provide different things. But it wouldn't be bad for our culture and of taking care of people to take care of them.
Yeah, and by having the starting wages the same, mechanically, it makes it easier to happen. We can put them in a combined position. A lot of back-end rigmarole, but yes, being able to have two different rates, it gets really complicated. So if we do say, oh, you want to be a special ed and an after-school care worker, you're going to end up working 28 hours. To mechanically say, okay, well, these hours are at $9 an hour, these hours are, then if you go over your, anyway, it gets complicated. So that's kind of selfishly, part of the reason if we keep them all at $12.91, it makes it easier to do some of those complications.
Sounds like the right thing to do, though, given the economy and the status of our.
How much
Mr. Chairman.
more percentage-wise?
I'd like to make a motion to approve adjusting the wage beginning second semester for after-school care workers, crossing guards, and lunchroom supervisors to $12.91 per hour and adjust the after-school care director wage to $13.91 per hour.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, and we've had plenty of discussion, so call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right, it passes. And so at this time, again, I'd like to thank our outgoing board members for your 4 years of service, and y'all have been wonderful. And our meeting